So we start with a word of prayer. And Father, we thank you that you're with us and you speak to us and you speak to us. Lord, we just pray that you'll speak to us now. In Jesus' name. Amen. Got 3 points today. I'm going to look at let him in, let him have his way, and let him have the glory. We're living in a world where we all have many friends, and I use that in inverted commas because, I just checked this morning to see how many Facebook friends I'm up to these days. You do have them every now and again, don't you? And it turns out I've got 499 friends on Facebook. So if anyone's listening to this, you might want to add me as your 500th, as my 500th friend. Have the honour of that. But yeah, it's just crazy, isn't it? 499 friends. I'm sure you've probably got even more than me. But all these friendships, they're very tenuous. Some of these people, like me, you may not even know. In the olden days, we had fewer numbers, didn't we, of friends, but better quality. Better quality. We'd ring them up. We'd meet up. We'd share our feelings with them. We'd tell some people everything. And although you may think that, that's not healthy, it actually is. It actually is. It's good to talk. It's good to have strong friendships with people. But we don't seem to let people in anymore, in to see the real us. And I believe it's one of the causes of the rise of mental health issues today. We don't have the same support network of friends to lean on, that same support network of friends to rely on in difficult times. In fact, true friendship has become a lost art. And with all the social distancing that's going on at the minute, it's only going to get worse. People have become so bad at listening that we have to sit on a couch and pay a doctor of psychology to listen to us. We just don't let people in anymore. We've built a wall around our hearts and no one gets in. But there is someone who wants to scale those high walls and have access to your heart. There is someone who cares more than anyone about your life. There is someone who cares even more than anybody about your health. There's someone who cares more than anyone about your worries, your job, your family, your future. And his name's Jesus. And he's a gentleman. But because he's a gentleman, he doesn't force his way into your life. You have to let him in. Now I've been watching a programme called The Loudest Voice. Now it's not the latest reality singing competition, you'd be pleased to know. We've got enough of those, haven't we? The Loudest Voice. It's about when Roger Ailes, you may have heard of him, he set up and launched Fox News on the 7th of October 1996. And his idea was that news network, a brand new news network in America, would be would have a kind of huge influence on America, that they would be the loudest voice. And the idea was that all the other news channels were speaking to satisfying the liberals of America and the Democrats, and there was nobody out there, a conservative voice. So he decided the other 50% needed someone to speak up, and they'd have half a share of that market straight away. And if you know anything about Fox News, you'll know how they influenced the war in Iraq by being that loudest voice, by even making the news rather than just reporting on the news. They were the loudest voice for many years, and still are in America. But it was the title that intrigued me the most, The Loudest Voice. Because if you want to be loud, or if you have to be loud, then you've not got a lot to shout about. Some preachers, they shout during the weaker points of the sermon. And I've been sat there and you listen to them and you think, why are they getting so excited about this? I'm not even sure whether they agree with this particular point. And that's why they're shouting, because they're trying to emphasise with confidence what they're saying, but really they're not so sure about it themselves. And some of them have admitted that to me as well. But what would Jesus do? WWJD, what would Jesus do? Got a poster here for the thumbs up there, you've seen that. Ran out of paper at my house, so I've had to print on other things that I've been using. But what would Jesus do? WWJD or WDJD? What doesn't Jesus do? Well, I'll tell you what he doesn't do. He's not the loudest voice. He doesn't bang on your door and shout, "Let me in!" He's a still, small voice, because he can be. See, his message is better than any message out there. He doesn't need to shout. Let him in. Second point, let him have his way in your life. Let him have his way in your life. In Judges, the book of Judges, chapter 14 and onwards, I'm sure you've heard of a fellow called Samson, who desires a wife from the Philistines. I don't know what it was about the Philistine women, but he had a penchant for them. And he found somebody who he wanted as his wife, and his mum and dad said to him, "Look, can't you just choose somebody from among your own people? This is going to cause huge problems." But he refused to listen to them, and he went and he married this lady. But on the way there, he came up with a riddle that the people had to try and solve, and there was a big wager on it: 30 cloaks and 30 pieces of linen. It was something like this: after the eater comes something to eat, after the strong something sweet, and nobody could figure it out. So they pestered Samson's wife until eventually he told her, and she told them. And he was furious. He went off in a huff. He struck down 30 Philistines for these cloaks, paid the men with them, and just went off. And his wife was given to somebody else. And it's just a terrible end to that story. And he didn't learn his lesson from there, because later on, as you know, he met Delilah, and she, found the secret of his strength, and handed him over to the Philistines. And it ended in capture and death. It was a sad end to Samson's life. Now, your decisions may not have as serious ramifications as Samson's, but for sure, too many people are missing out on great blessings because they're trying to do life their way. Everybody thinks they know best, but they don't. There's always someone who knows more than you about something, and they're usually older. We've made many mistakes in our lives if we're open to admit it, and most of them could have been eradicated if we just listened. It's great when you can learn from someone else's mistakes. Usually we have to make mistakes ourselves, but if you can learn from someone else's mistakes, that's fantastic. I remember, growing up, many times I'd be sat at the table and the only one eating there, probably because I was so slow at eating, chasing the last pea around the plate. But there'd be one of my siblings, sat in the other chair near the radiator there in that kitchen room at our old house on Alexandra Road. And I just remember being very young and just hearing the general gist of the conversation. It was usually something like this: "Oh, if only I'd listened to your dad." Something had gone wrong, I don't know what it was, something financial, I think, and previously my dad had emphasised what should be done, and I think they hadn't took that advice. I can't remember who it was. Or it's just a repeating scenario, to be honest with you. It didn't just happen once or twice. I used to sit there thinking, why don't people just listen to Dad? I was very young at the time, so it just had a bit of an impression on me. Why don't people listen to Dad? He seems to get it right. So I decided that I was going to listen to Dad when I grew up, and I've tried to do that ever since. But if you can learn from other people's mistakes, that's a fantastic thing. Because most people are living with huge regrets because they've ignored advice. More importantly, they've ignored God's advice on their life. In 1588, King Philip II of Spain had a decision to make: who to lead a fleet of 130 ships in the Spanish Armada. And he chose the esteemed Alonso Perez de Guzman, an inexperienced but fiercely loyal commander. There was just one problem: Guzman's experience was primarily on land. He was even prone to seasickness, so not a very wise choice, and the result was defeat and devastation and death as that army got ransacked in the English Channel by the English. He ignored the advice of his friends, and he went with his heart in choosing Alonso. There's a lesson from history, but the message is the same. Don't go with your heart. Do not go with your heart. It's deceitful and desperately wicked. Follow God's heart and God's will for your life, which you can find out by spending time alone with Him and listening to His word. You know, it saddens me when I see so many people following their own way, convinced it'll bring them happiness. You know, perhaps the sphere with the most sadness as a result of people following their own way is in the path of love. You know, people, often young, follow their hearts, believing they're in love. You know, not realising it's actually a chemical drive in their emotions that, you know, lasts around 2 years, 4 years at best. When the feelings fade, the relationship often dies. Love is not a feeling, it's a choice. Now think about it. If I bring breakfast in bed to my wife when you know, it's in that early stage and you know your feelings, you're head over heels in love, and then I do it many years later when those same rush along feelings are not there. You know, which is the greater act of love? When I'm driven by emotions, or when I choose out of a conscious act of the will, despite the feelings? It's obviously the latter, isn't it? We need to start listening to our hearts. We also need to stop fueling our own ambitions in life. You know, life is full of people who trample over other people to get to the top. That's not God's way. You know, we ought to put others first. You know, the crazy thing is when we put ourselves first, we aren't actually doing what's best for us. Do you know who does want to do what's best for us? Do you know who knows what's best for us? God. He's not a spoilsport. He actually wants and knows what's best for us. Following His way will help us achieve that and bring us lasting joy. So we've got to let Him in. We've got to let Him have His way in our life. And finally, we've got to let Him have all the glory. Now, I thought about this, and you're probably thinking as well, of Acts chapter 12, where King Herod Agrippa, you know, gives that great speech, and everyone, you know, goes on about how amazing it is, and he laps up all the glory for himself instead of giving any glory to God. But I don't think that's the best illustration in the Bible to point this fact out, because of how important it is to let God have all the glory. I think a better example would be Moses, because, you know, you wouldn't expect Herod Agrippa to give God all the glory, because he wasn't even a saved man. But of course Moses was a great man of God, and yet there was one occasion in his life when he refused to give God all the glory, and we'll look at the implications of that. It's in Numbers chapter 20, so if you'd like to turn to Numbers chapter 20, I'm just going to read the first 12 verses. In the first month, the whole Israelite community arrived at the desert of Zin, and they stayed at Kadesh. There Miriam died and was buried. Now there was no water for the community, and the people gathered in opposition to Moses and Aaron. They quarrelled with Moses and said, "If only we had died when our brothers fell dead before the Lord. Why did you bring the Lord's community to the desert that we and our livestock should die here? Why did you bring us up out of Egypt to this terrible place? It has no grain or figs, grapevines or pomegranates, and there is no water to drink." Moses and Aaron went from the assembly to the entrance to the tent of meeting and fell face down, and the glory of the Lord appeared to them. The Lord said to Moses, "Take the staff and your brother Aaron, gather the assembly together. Speak to that rock before their eyes, and it will pour out its water. You will bring water out of the rock for the community so that they and their livestock can drink." So Moses took the staff from the Lord's presence just as he commanded him. He and Aaron gathered the assembly together in front of the rock, and Moses said to them, "Listen, you rebels, must we bring you water out of this rock?" Then Moses raised his hand and struck the rock twice with his staff. Water gushed out, and the community and their livestock drank. But the Lord said to Moses, and Aaron. Because you did not trust me enough to honour me as holy in the sight of the Israelites, you will not bring this community into the land I give them. See, because Moses didn't follow the Lord's specific instructions there, he was denied access into the promised land. He struck the rock twice instead of just speaking to it, which we know from the New Testament that rock was a picture of Christ, and he's only going to be struck once for sins, not twice. That had happened earlier on another occasion. This time he was told to just speak to this rock and it would gush forth water. But he also tries to set himself up as the person who is giving them the water. Must we, he says, about him and Aaron, must we bring you water out of this rock? He's trying to get all the glory so the people will finally, give him some respect because he's at the end of his tether. But instead of giving God the glory, and as a result we see he's denied access to the promised land. I've seen some very successful people who have refused to give God all the glory. And as a result they've lost the reward. Some have even lost their ministry. They were in a position of responsibility. Head of the church, they believed. Of course, it's Christ who's head of the church, isn't it? There was an aloofness, a lack of listening to anyone's ideas. There was blinkered vision. But they were forced to quickly realise that it is Christ who is the head of the church, because the church was taken away from them. If we do anything good, do we really believe it was us? It wasn't. It was all of God working through us. It says, doesn't it, in John, Jesus said in John 15:5, you can do nothing apart from me. It's all of God. We rely on him for everything. So give him the glory. Whatever difficulties are going on in your life, keep on and don't give up. Whatever past decisions have derailed you, just get back on track and follow the Lord's leading. You'll be amazed at what he can achieve in you if you let him. So let him have his way in your life, which means dedicating every area of your life to him. And let him have all the glory, and he'll be able to trust you with more and more success. Let him have his way in your life. Let him have all the glory, but first you have to let him in. Shall we pray? Heavenly Father, we just pray that you'll give us that realization of how we are nothing without you, but how you can make something great of us if we'll just let you into our hearts, if we'll let you have all of our hearts, and if we let you have all the glory. I pray that we would do so for your glory. In Jesus' name, amen.